You decline one request, close the laptop, and finally choose an evening for yourself. Instead of relief, guilt arrives. Your mind drafts apologies for taking time that nobody had formally claimed, as if your availability belonged to everyone except you. If you are among people who feel selfish whenever their own needs enter the room, ask what this experience is responding to and what would make it more useful. That question opens a better conversation than another quick judgment about your personality. People sometimes reduce focusing on yourself without guilt to becoming selfish, uncaring, or unreliable. That conclusion is too small to explain the experience. Guilt can appear when you violate an old rule, not only when you violate a value. If usefulness, peacekeeping, or constant access once protected, belonging, choosing yourself may feel wrong before it is actually harmful. The behavior can make sense without being ideal, and understanding its purpose does not excuse every consequence. There is no single personality type behind focusing on yourself without guilt. Temperament, learning, stress, relationships, culture, and practical circumstances can combine in different proportions. Treat this explanation as a framework, not a diagnosis, and keep only what matches the evidence of your life. Start with one possible mechanism. People-pleasing can make another person's disappointment feel like proof that you did something wrong. Hold this first explanation lightly and compare it with what your body, choices, and energy actually do. Compare this first clue across several situations before deciding what it means. Watch how that looks in a workday. A late message appears and you answer immediately, although nothing in it is urgent. In the first scene, the need beneath the behavior matters more than how the behavior looks from outside. Read the first scene through need timing and aftermath rather than appearance. A second layer is easy to miss. Being needed may become a stable identity, so rest creates uncertainty about your value. The second explanation becomes useful only when the same conditions repeatedly produce a similar response. Use the second clue only if it predicts more than one response. The experience becomes clearer in private. You spend your day off recovering from favors you were afraid to decline. The private scene reveals whether the response brings genuine recovery or merely delays discomfort. Use the private example to compare real recovery with delayed discomfort. The third piece concerns attention. Family or workplace rules can reward overfunctioning while treating boundaries as attitude. For the third explanation, distinguish what you observed from the meaning you assigned afterward. Keep observation and interpretation separate while testing the third clue. Social situations add another clue. Someone sighs at your boundary and the sound matters more than the reasons behind your decision. The social scene shows what happens when belonging, visibility, or another person's expectations enter the equation. Let the social example reveal the extra weight of belonging and visibility. Another part appears under pressure. Guilt often predicts rejection before anyone has actually rejected you. This fourth possibility matters most when pressure changes the intensity, timing, or cost of the response. Pressure is the comparison point for the fourth clue. Now place the same response inside a stressful week. You wait until burnout makes the choice for you, then disappear, because a calm limit felt unavailable. The stressful week example separates a stable preference from a temporary response to depleted capacity. Use the stressful example to check whether depleted capacity changes the response. A final mechanism helps explain repetition. Resentment grows when agreement is offered outwardly, while the real no remains trapped inside. The fifth explanation should increase choice. Discard it if it only supplies a more sophisticated insult. A useful fifth clue creates options instead of another fixed identity. One final scene separates a trait from a trap. A respectful friend accepts your no, revealing how much conflict came from anticipation rather than reality. The final scene asks whether the behavior remains flexible when circumstances, energy, or relationships change. Let the final example test whether choice remains available as circumstances change. To make the self-prioritizing pattern more precise, compare three conditions: a rested day, a depleted day, and a day spent with people who feel safe. Notice whether the response changes in speed, intensity, or cost. If it shifts with context, the context belongs in the explanation. That comparison prevents one difficult moment from becoming a permanent identity. Look for a counterexample to self-prioritizing as carefully as you look for confirmation. Remember a time when the usual response did not happen? happened less strongly, or ended sooner. Ask what was different about preparation, energy, environment, expectations, and support. A counterexample reveals the conditions that make greater choice possible. The hidden cost of self-prioritizing deserves equal honesty. Self-focus loses integrity when it ignores commitments, empathy, or consequences, but endless self-abandonment eventually damages the care you are trying to provide. Preserve whatever the response protects, connects, restores, or clarifies. Change the portion, reducing freedom, straining trust, or moving you farther from what you value. Start by observing the pattern. Pause before agreeing and say you will check your schedule, giving your real preference time to appear. A second step is practical. Use a complete boundary such as, "I can't do that tonight," without building a courtroom defense. Third, make the change specific. Let guilt travel beside the decision for a while instead of using the feeling as an instruction to reverse it. Fourth, make the new response repeatable. Separate emergencies from inconvenience so every request does not receive the same priority. Fifth, use support carefully. Schedule your health rest and meaningful work before the empty spaces are claimed by default. Sixth, review what actually happened. Offer what you can give freely rather than promising more and delivering it with resentment. Finally, know when more support is needed. Review the relationship after a boundary. People who value you may adjust, while people who valued access may protest. Focusing on yourself is not a permanent withdrawal from other people. It is restoring yourself to the group of humans whose needs count in your decisions. Flexibility means choosing among several responses instead of being pushed into one move. An understandable response does not have to become the only move available. Try one 7-day experiment designed for self-prioritizing, but do not repeat a generic ritual every day. Choose one relevant action, use it in a real situation, and record the outcome. Keep, revise, or discard the experiment according to evidence rather than guilt. The next free evening may still bring a flicker of guilt. Let it be the echo of an old rule, not the judge of a new life. You can care deeply and still remain present in your own story. The goal is not a new label. It is enough understanding and flexibility to make a more deliberate next choice.